The year was 2078. Humanity had finally achieved what once seemed impossible, faster-than-light travel. With this breakthrough came the first human colonies on Mars and Europa, mankind's first steps into becoming a true spacefaring civilization. Earth was united under the banner of the Earth Defense Fleet, a military organization tasked with protecting humanity's interests among the stars. Captain Alan Fisher stood on the bridge of the EDF flagship Vengeance, gazing at the blue marble of Earth through the viewscreen. At 42, Fisher had spent half his life in space, rising through the ranks due to his cool head and tactical brilliance. His weathered face and short gray hair reflected years under artificial lighting rather than natural sunlight. "Captain, incoming emergency transmission from Orbital Station Delta," called out Communications Officer Diane Reeves, her voice cutting through the quiet hum of the bridge. Fisher straightened his uniform. "Put it through." The screen flickered, revealing the concerned face of Commander Pete Harris. "Captain Fisher, our long-range sensors have detected something unusual. A large group of objects just appeared at the edge of the solar system. They weren't there on our last scan." Fisher's stomach tightened. "Could be sensor malfunction." "Negative, sir. We've confirmed with 3 separate sensor arrays. These objects are moving in formation toward Earth. They're ships, Captain. Ships unlike anything we've ever seen." Before Fisher could respond, Lieutenant Kyle Simmons at the tactical station called out, "Sir, the unknown vessels are accelerating. At their current speed, they'll reach Earth orbit in less than 6 hours." Fisher's mind raced. The Vengeance was the most advanced ship in Earth's fleet, but it was designed for exploration and defense against known threats. If these were aliens with unknown capabilities, sound General Quarters. Contact Earth Command and inform President Miller. I want every available ship in defensive position around Earth and the colonies. Fisher's orders set the bridge into controlled chaos as red alert klaxons blared throughout the ship. Within 2 hours, the Vengeance had joined 20 other Earth Defense Fleet vessels in high orbit, forming a protective screen between Earth and the approaching alien armada. Behind them, millions of people on Earth watched their screens in fear and fascination as humanity prepared for its first contact with alien life. The alien fleet slowed as it approached, revealing itself to be 30 ships of varying sizes, all with sleek crystalline designs that seemed to glow from within. The largest ship was massive, easily 3 times the size of the Vengeance. "They're hailing us, sir," Reeves reported, her fingers dancing across her console. Fisher took a deep breath. "Put them through." The view screen changed to show a humanoid alien with pale blue skin, no hair, and large, solid black eyes. When it spoke, its mouth didn't move. Instead, a mechanical voice translated, "I am High Commander Zex Terrell of the UR, Galactic Council. Your species has been observed since your first nuclear detonation. Your recent achievement of faster-than-light travel has necessitated this intervention." Fisher kept his voice steady. "This is Captain Alan Fisher of the Earth Defense Fleet. We welcome peaceful contact with the Galactic Council." The alien's expression didn't change. "Peaceful intentions are irrelevant. Human history demonstrates your species is too violent and unpredictable for unrestricted space travel. The Council has decided Earth will become a protected territory under our guidance. Your military vessels will be dismantled. Your colonies will be administered by Council representatives. Resistance is inadvisable." In the silence that followed, Fisher exchanged glances with his executive officer, Linda Powell. This wasn't first contact, it was an invasion. "Commander Zex Terrell," Fisher said carefully, "Earth and its colonies are sovereign territory. We're willing to discuss membership in your council as equals, but we cannot accept these terms." The alien's response was cold. "The Council does not negotiate with pre-integration species. You have 6 Earth hours to begin disarming your vessels. Compliance is mandatory." The transmission cut off. President Samantha Miller's face appeared on a separate screen. At 65, she had led the United Earth Alliance through its first decade of true global cooperation. "Captain Fisher, you heard the same thing I did. Opinions?" "Madam President, their technology appears far beyond ours, but their approach suggests they expect us to surrender without a fight. I recommend we continue attempts at diplomacy while preparing our defenses. Miller nodded. Agreed. I'm authorizing defensive posture only. No provocative actions. Over. The next 4 hours, repeated attempts at communication were met with silence. The Council ships maintained their position, seemingly content to wait out their ultimatum. In the science lab aboard the Vengeance, Chief Science Officer Nancy Blackwood worked frantically to analyze the alien vessels. A brilliant physicist with 20 years of experience studying exotic energy fields, Blackwood had noticed something unusual about the alien ships. Captain, she called Fisher down to the lab, pointing at her readings. Their hull composition is unlike anything I've seen, but their shield frequencies interact oddly with the quantum pulse radiation from our new engines. There might be a vulnerability there. Fisher nodded grimly. Keep working on it, we might need an edge. Just as Fisher returned to the bridge, Lieutenant Simmons shouted, Sir, 5 smaller vessels have broken formation from the alien fleet. They're accelerating toward... Oh God, they're heading for the lunar colony. Intercept course, Fisher ordered. Contact the lunar colony. Tell them to activate emergency protocols. But it was too late. Before the Earth ships could respond, the alien vessels opened fire on the lunar colony's main dome. The structure, home to nearly 15,000 civilians, cracked under the assault. Emergency force fields failed almost immediately. The colony, humanity's proudest achievement in space, was reduced to rubble in minutes. They're sending another message, Reeves whispered, her face pale with shock. The alien commander reappeared. This demonstration was necessary to establish the consequences of defiance. You now understand the Council's technological superiority. Your remaining 5 hours for compliance continue. As the message ended, Fisher's bridge crew stared at him in horror and rage. 15,000 lives, snuffed out as a demonstration. President Miller's face appeared on screen again, her eyes red but her voice steady. Captain Fisher, we cannot match their firepower. I'm ordering a strategic withdrawal of all fleet assets to the far side of Jupiter. We need time to assess and respond. Fisher wanted to argue, to fight, but he knew she was right. The Earth Defense Fleet was outmatched. Fighting now would mean destruction. Understood, Madam President. Fisher turned to his helm officer. Plot withdrawal course, all ships to fall back to Jupiter Rally Point Alpha. As the Earth fleet began its retreat, Fisher stood at the view screen, watching the alien ships move into position around his homeworld. This wasn't over. Somehow, humanity would find a way to fight back. In her lab, Nancy Blackwood continued her analysis of the quantum pulse readings, unaware that her research would soon become humanity's greatest hope. The aliens had made a critical error. They had attacked humans without finishing them off. And if human history had taught anything, it was that humanity was at its most dangerous when cornered. The Galactic Council's victory celebration would be premature. Earth's fierce retaliation was only beginning to take shape. 6 months had passed since the Galactic Council's attack. Earth was a changed world. Alien ships hovered in the skies above major cities. Council soldiers patrolled the streets. The once proud Earth Defense Fleet was scattered, many ships destroyed. In the early days of resistance, Council Administrator Grelvach had established his headquarters in the former United Nations building in New York. From there, he demanded regular tributes of Earth's resources and labor. Humans were forced to work in mines and factories producing material shipped off-world to feed the Council's vast empire. On the surface, it appeared that humanity had accepted defeat. But beneath the appearance of submission, a flame of resistance burned. In the ruins of Chicago, former Marine Frank Garcia moved silently through the shadows. At 35, Garcia had once been a decorated officer in Earth's military. Now he led one of the largest resistance cells on the planet. His weathered face was partially hidden behind a short beard, a disguise to help him blend in with the civilian population. Garcia entered an old subway tunnel, navigating the darkness with practiced ease. The tunnels were one of the few places free from Council surveillance. Deep underground, hundreds of people had gathered. Former soldiers, police officers, and ordinary citizens who refused to accept alien rule. "What's the status on those Council communication devices?" Garcia asked as he approached a group huddled. around a workbench. A young woman named Becky Foster looked up from the alien technology she was disassembling. "We've figured out how to jam their local frequencies for short periods. Not long enough for an attack, but maybe enough to create a distraction." Garcia nodded. "That's progress. Any word from our friends off-world?" Message came through an hour. "Ego," said Steve Owen, Garcia's second-in-command. "The lunar base is operational. They're ready when we are." While the Council believed they had complete control of Earth and its orbital facilities, they remained unaware of the secret base on the far side of the Moon. Hidden from Earth's view and Council sensors, the base had been built into the lunar rock years before the invasion as an emergency command center. Inside this base, President Samantha Miller stood before a holographic map of the solar system. Though tired from months of planning and stress, her resolve had only strengthened. "The Council forces have established fixed patterns," she said to the military advisors gathered around her. "Their patrols are becoming predictable. They think we're beaten." Captain Alan Fisher, one of the few ship commanders to escape the initial conflict, pointed to the map. "Their main fleet is concentrated around Earth and Mars. Their hold on Europa is lighter, mostly mining operations." "And the weapon development?" Miller asked. Fisher smiled for the first time in months. "I think you should see for yourself, Madam President." He led her through the base to a large laboratory where Dr. Richard Okonkwo worked with a team of scientists. Okonkwo had been Earth's leading physicist before the invasion. Now he applied his brilliant mind to creating humanity's best hope for freedom. "Dr. Okonkwo, show the President what you've accomplished," Fisher said. Okonkwo, a tall man with kind eyes and graying hair, gestured to a device the size of a microwave oven. "Based on Chief Science Officer Blackwood's initial findings, we've developed this, a quantum pulse generator modified to target the specific frequency vulnerability in Council shield technology." He activated a small model of a Council ship inside a test chamber. When he fired the device, the ship's miniature shields flared bright blue, then failed completely. "The bigger version can be mounted on our remaining ships," Okonkwo explained. "Their shields will be useless against it." "President," Miller watched with growing hope. "How many of these can we build? With the materials we've salvaged and hidden, enough to arm our surviving fleet, but we need more time." Meanwhile, on Europa, Jupiter's ice-covered moon, Council mining operations extracted valuable minerals from beneath the frozen surface. Hundreds of humans worked there as forced labor, supervised by alien overseers. Among them was Lisa Wright, a former pilot who had been captured during the initial invasion. For months, she had been carefully observing Council operations, memorizing guard rotations and learning bits of alien language and technology. In the cramped barracks where human workers slept, Lisa whispered to a small group of trusted friends. "The supply ship leaves tomorrow. If we move during shift change, we might be able to get aboard." An older man named Joe Baker looked doubtful. "Even if we get on the ship, how do we take control? There's always at least 4 guards." Lisa pulled out a small device she had stolen and modified from the mining equipment. "This can short-circuit their personal shields. After that, they're not much stronger than we are." The next day, as the Council supply ship prepared to depart, Lisa and her 3 companions made their move. Using the stolen device, they disabled the guards' shields and overpowered them, locking them in a storage compartment. None of them were trained pilots, but Lisa had watched the aliens enough to understand the basic controls. With alarms blaring behind them, she launched the ship away from Europa, setting course for the dark side of the moon where rumors said human resistance forces might be hiding. Back on Earth, Council Administrator Grelvak was becoming frustrated with human behaviors he couldn't understand. Despite harsh punishments, sabotage of Council operations continued. Equipment mysteriously broke down, supplies went missing, and most concerning, Council communications were increasingly filled with static interference. "These humans should be completely subjugated by now," he complained to his security chief. "The Council has conquered hundreds of species, and none have resisted this long after such a decisive defeat." What Grelvak failed to understand was that humanity possessed something unique, an unparalleled ability to adapt, to find hope in despair, to innovate when faced with extinction. While he saw a conquered species, humans were quietly preparing for war. In hidden facilities around the globe, resistance fighters trained with makeshift weapons. In underground labs, scientists reverse-engineered alien technology. And in orbit, around Jupiter, the remains of Earth's defense fleet were being retrofitted with Dr. Okonkwo's quantum pulse weapons. When Lisa Wright's stolen council ship appeared near the lunar base, it was immediately surrounded by hidden human vessels. As she was escorted to meet President Miller and Captain Fisher, she carried something more valuable than the ship she had stolen: detailed knowledge of council fleet movements and military capabilities, information that would prove crucial in the coming fight. The council believed they had 6 months of uncontested control. They believed humanity was broken. They had no idea that Earth's fierce retaliation was about to begin. 8 months into the occupation of Earth, the Galactic Council had grown confident in their control. Their ships patrolled the skies unchallenged. Their soldiers walked the streets of human cities without fear. On Titan, Saturn's largest moon, they had built a major outpost to monitor the outer solar system and process resources taken from Earth. They did not expect what was coming. In the hidden lunar base, Captain Alan Fisher stood before the crew of his ship, the Vengeance. The once pristine vessel now bore scars from battle and hasty repairs, but it also carried something new: Dr. Okonkwo's quantum pulse weapons, mounted where standard energy cannons had once been. "Today we take the first step toward reclaiming our solar system," Fisher told his crew. "The Council believes their technology makes them invincible. Today we prove them wrong." The crew cheered. After months of hiding and preparation, they were finally taking action. 5 other ships would join the Vengeance on this mission, a small fleet, but each vessel was now armed with weapons the Council had never faced. President Miller approached Fisher after his speech. "This mission is about more than destroying one outpost, Captain. It's about showing humanity that the Council can be beaten." Fisher nodded. "We won't let you down, Madam President." Far below on Earth, Frank Garcia received the encoded message. He had been waiting for dawn breaks on Titan. It was time. His resistance fighters had spent months preparing for this day, mapping Council positions and gathering weapons. Garcia sent out his own coded messages to resistance cells around the world. Within hours, coordinated attacks would begin against Council communication arrays, weapon depots, and transport ships. The Council's attention would be divided when news from Titan reached them. Dr. Catherine Martinez worked in the communications center of the lunar base. A brilliant engineer who had specialized in signal processing before the invasion, she had spent months studying Council communication technology. By reverse engineering devices captured by resistance fighters, she had learned to intercept and decode their transmissions. "We're ready to jam their emergency channels when the attack begins," she told President Miller. "They won't be able to call for help." In space, Fisher's small fleet approached Titan using the rings of Saturn for cover. The Council outpost was massive, a sprawling base with defense towers and a dozen docked ships. Under normal circumstances, attacking such a facility would be suicide for 6 Earth vessels, but these were not normal circumstances. "All ships, power up quantum pulse weapons," Fisher ordered. "Target their largest vessels first, then the defense towers." The Earth ships emerged from Saturn's rings, accelerating toward the outpost. Council alarms blared as their sensors detected the approaching vessels. "They're powering up shields," reported Lieutenant Kyle Simmons from the tactical station. "Defense towers are activating. Fire quantum pulses, all ships," Fisher commanded. Brilliant blue-white beams shot from the Earth vessels. When they struck the Council shields, something remarkable happened. Instead of being stopped, the beams passed through as if the shields weren't there. The energy struck Council ships directly, cutting through their hulls with ease. On the Council command deck, the alien commander watched in disbelief as his supposedly impenetrable shields failed. "Impossible," he hissed. "How are they bypassing our defenses?" Before he could get an answer, the quantum pulse hit his own ship. Systems failed instantly. Emergency alarms wailed as the vessel began to break apart. The battle for Titan was shockingly brief. Within 20 minutes, every Council ship was destroyed or disabled. The defense towers stood silent, their power cores ruptured by the quantum pulse weapons. And most incredibly, not a single Earth ship had been lost. "The outpost is defenseless, Captain," Simmons reported, his voice filled with wonder. "Should we board and capture it?" Fisher considered for a moment. "Negative. Plant demolition charges throughout the facility. I want nothing left for them to recover." As Earth forces placed explosives throughout the outpost, they downloaded the Council's databases. Every bit of information about Council technology and deployments would be valuable in the battles to come. Meanwhile on Earth, the coordinated rebellion had begun. In New York, Frank Garcia led a team that stormed the Council headquarters in the former UN building. Council Administrator Grelvak was captured while trying to reach his ship on the roof. "What is the meaning of this?" Grelvak demanded as humans bound his hands. "Your species cannot possibly challenge the Council. Your defeat is inevitable." Garcia smiled grimly. "That's what you don't understand about humans. When you corner us, when you threaten our existence, we don't give up. We get creative." All across Earth, similar scenes played out. Council communication arrays were destroyed, preventing the aliens from coordinating their defense. Weapon depots were captured, giving human fighters access to advanced technology. Transport ships were disabled or seized, stranding Council forces wherever they happened to be. The Council, faced with an uprising they had never anticipated, fell into disarray. Their rigid command structure, accustomed to giving orders to compliant, subject species, could not adapt quickly to the rapidly changing situation. In the Lunar Base Communications Center, Dr. Martinez intercepted frantic Council messages. "They're calling for reinforcements," she told President Miller, "but the nearest Council fleet is 3 weeks away." Miller nodded. "Then we have 3 weeks to secure our system." On the Vengeance, Captain Fisher watched as Titan's outpost exploded, a brilliant flare against the darkness of space. His crew cheered, but Fisher remained solemn. This was only the beginning. "Set course for Mars," he ordered. "Let's show our people there that Earth hasn't abandoned them." The quantum pulse technology had proven far more effective than anyone had dared hope. Council ships that had dominated Earth's skies for months now found themselves vulnerable, their advanced technology rendered useless by human innovation. News of the victory at Titan spread quickly among humans throughout the solar system. Mines and labor camps in occupied cities and hidden resistance bases, people heard that the invincible Council had been defeated. Hope spread like wildfire. For the first time since the invasion began, the Council felt fear. They had conquered hundreds of species across the galaxy, but none had ever turned the tide like this. None had ever taken Council technology and turned it against them so effectively. The species they had dismissed as primitive was fighting back with unexpected ferocity. Earth's retaliation had begun, and the Galactic Council was about to learn just how costly their mistake had been. 2 weeks after the victory at Titan, Earth had reclaimed its solar system. Mars colonies were liberated. The mining operations on Europa were now back in human hands. Council ships had been destroyed or driven away. For the first time in months, no alien vessels hung in Earth's skies. But President Samantha Miller knew this was just a brief window of opportunity. Council reinforcements were coming. If Earth only defended, eventually they would be overwhelmed by the sheer size of the Galactic Council's forces. In a bold move, she called her military advisors to the war room in the lunar base. "We cannot win by staying in our solar system," she told them. "If we wait for them to bring their full might against us, we'll lose everything we've gained." Captain Alan Fisher, fresh from leading the liberation of Mars, nodded in agreement. "What do you propose, Madam President?" Miller pointed to the star map on the wall. "We take the fight to them. We strike at the heart of their military power before their reinforcements arrive." The room fell silent. No human ship had ever traveled beyond the solar system in combat. It was an audacious plan, perhaps even foolish. But after months of occupation, humanity had little patience for caution. Dr. Richard Okonkwo stepped forward. "The quantum pulse technology can be adapted to create a system-wide defense grid. It won't stop a determined attack forever, but it could protect Earth while our ships are away. Engineer Paul Jackson, who had worked alongside Okonkwo, added, "I've already begun the designs. With the materials we've captured from Council ships, we can have it operational within days." Miller looked around the room. "Then it's decided. Captain Fisher, you will lead our fleet beyond our solar system. Your target is Nexus Station." From captured Council records, they knew Nexus Station was a massive military hub where thousands of warships were stationed. It was the logical staging area for any major assault on Earth. Fisher spent 3 days preparing for the mission. His fleet had grown to 20 ships, each armed with the improved quantum pulse weapons. The crews were a mix of career military personnel and civilian volunteers, united by their determination to ensure Earth would never again be threatened. On the morning of departure, Fisher addressed his crews via video link from the bridge of the Vengeance. "What we're about to do has never been attempted in human history. We will carry the fight beyond our solar system to show the Council that attacking Earth was the worst mistake they ever made. They believe their technology and their 1,000-year empire make them invincible. We will prove them wrong." The Earth fleet jumped into faster-than-light travel, leaving the solar system behind. Using coordinates obtained from captured Council navigation systems, they plotted a course directly for Nexus Station. The journey took just 16 hours. When the Earth ships emerged from FTL travel, Nexus Station loomed before them. A massive artificial structure surrounded by hundreds of Council warships. The station was shaped like a wheel with 8 spokes, rotating slowly to provide gravity for its inhabitants. "They're not in defensive formation," reported Lieutenant Kyle Simmons from Tactical. "I don't think they're expecting us." Fisher allowed himself a small smile. "Then let's not disappoint them. All ships target their largest vessels first. Fire quantum pulses on my mark." The Earth fleet accelerated toward the station, weapons charged. By the time Council sensors detected them, it was too late. "Fire," Fisher ordered. 20 quantum pulse beams lanced out simultaneously, striking the largest Council battleships. As it tightened, the supposedly impenetrable shields failed instantly. The massive vessels erupted in flames and explosions, creating chaos among the remaining Council ships. On the Council command deck of Nexus Station, Rear Admiral Voxathul watched in horror as Earth ships tore through his fleet. "How are they bypassing our shields?" he demanded. "That technology should be impossible for humans." "Unknown, sir," a subordinate replied. "Their weapons emit a radiation pattern our sensors can't classify." Voxathul had fought in a dozen wars across the galaxy, but he had never seen anything like this. A supposedly primitive species attacking the heart of Council military power with weapons that rendered their best defenses useless. The battle around Nexus Station quickly turned into a rout. Council ships, accustomed to overwhelming technological superiority, had no tactics for fighting an enemy who could ignore their shields. Some tried to flee, only to be picked off by Earth vessels. Others attempted suicide runs at the human ships, but were destroyed before they could get close. Within an hour, the space around Nexus Station was filled with the burning wrecks of Council ships. The station itself, now defenseless, transmitted a surrender signal. "Captain, they're surrendering," Simmons reported. "What are your orders?" Fisher considered for a moment. "Accept their surrender. Secure the station. I want all their navigational, data, fleet deployments, and communication protocols." As Earth forces boarded Nexus Station, they found Council personnel in disarray. Many had never seen combat before. Their empire had been unchallenged for so long that the concept of defeat was alien to them. Fisher walked through the captured command center, observing the alien technology and the stunned faces of his prisoners. One Council officer approached under guard. "You cannot believe this victory means anything," the alien said. "The Council controls thousands of worlds. Once word of this attack reaches Zenthar Prime, they will send 100 times the ships you destroyed today." Fisher looked at him calmly. "Then we'd better make sure they understand the cost of continuing this war." While Fisher secured Nexus Station, events on Earth continued to unfold. Engineer Paul Jackson had completed the system-wide defense grid, ensuring Earth would never again be vulnerable to surprise attacks. The quantum pulse technology had been adapted into a network of satellites that could disable any council ship entering the solar system. President Miller addressed the people of Earth, her face broadcast on screens around the world. Today, humanity has shown that we will not be conquered. We will not be subjugated. The council thought we would accept their rule. Instead, we have taken the fight to their territory, showing them that attacking Earth was a grave mistake. On the council homeworld of Zenthar Prime, the ruling members gathered in an emergency session as reports came in about the fall of Nexus Station. The Archon, Drel Vethar, oldest and most powerful member of the council, called for silence in the chamber. In 10,000 years, no species has ever captured a council military installation, he said, his voice quavering with a mixture of rage and fear. Yet these humans, whom we dismissed as primitive, have done the impossible. For the first time in the council's long history, a vote was taken to sue for peace with a species they had intended to subjugate. The once mighty Galactic Council was about to learn that underestimating humanity had consequences that would reshape the galaxy forever. 1 month after the capture of Nexus Station, a council diplomatic vessel entered Earth's solar system. Unlike the warships that had come before, this ship was small and unarmed. It passed through Earth's new defense grid only because humans allowed it to. The vessel landed at the rebuilt United Nations complex in New York, the same place where Council Administrator Grelvac had once ruled Earth with an iron hand. Now, the building had been reclaimed, the alien technology removed, and the flags of human nations once again flew proudly outside. Captain Alan Fisher stood beside President Samantha Miller as the council representatives emerged from their ship. There were 5 aliens of different species, each wearing the formal robes of the Galactic Council. The lead diplomat, a tall blue-skinned being named Lorix Isvan, approached with hands open in the universal gesture of peace. "We bring greetings from the Galactic Council," Lorix Isvan said through a translator device. "We come seeking an end to hostilities between our peoples." President Miller's face remained neutral. "You come seeking peace now, after attacking our world without provocation?" The alien diplomat bowed slightly. "The Council acknowledges errors in its approach to your species. We offer reparations in recognition of Earth's sovereignty." Fisher exchanged glances with Miller. They had expected this. The Council, for all its power, would never risk the destruction of more military assets like those lost at Nexus Station. Miller gestured toward the building. "Let us discuss your offer inside." The diplomatic chamber was filled not just with military and political leaders from Earth, but representatives from every human nation and colony. Mars, Europa, and the lunar settlements all had delegates present. This was not a meeting between Earth and the Council. It was humanity united facing those who had tried to conquer them. Lorix Von presented the Council's proposal. Earth would be recognized as a sovereign system. The Council would provide reparations for damages caused during the occupation. In return, humanity would cease its attacks on Council installations and return the captured Nexus Station. President Miller listened patiently, then stood. "Your offer suggests you still don't understand what has happened. We aren't here to negotiate our freedom. We already took that back." She walked to a display screen and activated it, showing a map of Council space. "During our occupation of Nexus Station, we gained access to your star charts, your defense codes, your communication protocols. We know where every major council world is located." The alien shifted uncomfortably as Miller continued. "We don't want your reparations. We want something more valuable. A complete restructuring of the Galactic Council itself." Lorix Von's translator emitted a sound of disbelief. "Restructuring. The Council has existed for 10,000 years. Who are you to demand changes to our ancient institution?" Captain Fisher stepped forward. "We are the species you tried to enslave, the species who took your technology and improved it, the species who defeated your fleets and captured your station." Dr. Richard Okonkwo joined them, bringing a small device that he placed on the table. It projected a hologram of a quantum pulse generator. "This is a miniaturized version of the weapon that defeated your shields. During our counter-invasion, We placed these devices on every major council world. The alien delegates stared in horror as Okonkwo continued. Each one is capable of disabling all technology on the planet. With a single command, we could send your worlds back to a pre-industrial state. This was humanity's final card. Not conquest, not destruction, but the threat of technological collapse. For a society built entirely on advanced technology, it was a fate worse than war. We don't want dominion over your worlds, President Miller said firmly. But we will not accept anything less than equality. The Galactic Council will be reformed into a galactic confederation, where all species have equal representation, regardless of their technological development. She looked each alien diplomat in the eyes. No more protected territories. No more subjugation of primitive species. Equal standing for all sentient beings in the galaxy. The council representatives requested a recess to confer with their leadership. When they returned hours later, their demeanor had changed. The council? Lorix von began, then corrected himself. The former council agrees to your terms. A new galactic confederation will be formed, with equal representation for all member species. 3 weeks later, Captain Fisher stood on the observation deck of the Vengeance, watching as ships from 100 alien worlds arrived at Earth for the first Confederation summit. The sleek vessels represented species he had never seen or heard of before, many of them former protected territories of the Council, now free to represent themselves. Dr. Okonkwo joined him, gazing out at the gathering fleet. It's remarkable how quickly things change. 3 months ago, we were an occupied world. Now we're hosting the largest diplomatic gathering in galactic history. Fisher nodded. Their greatest mistake wasn't attacking Earth. It was underestimating humanity's response to being cornered. Okonkwo smiled. They thought they were dealing with animals. They didn't realize they were poking a hornet's nest. On the Earth below, in the rebuilt United Nations building, President Miller prepared to welcome representatives from across the galaxy. The chamber had been expanded to accommodate delegates of all shapes, sizes, and environmental needs. At the center stood a simple pedestal with Earth's new flag, a blue and green sphere with stars radiating outward, symbolizing humanity's place in the greater galaxy. As the session began, Miller addressed the gathered delegates. Welcome to Earth. Just months ago, many of your worlds had never heard of us. Some of you knew us only as the newest protected territory of the Council. Today, we gather as equals to build something new, a galactic community based not on power or technological advancement, but on mutual respect and cooperation. The first act of the new confederation was to dispatch aid to worlds that had suffered under Council rule. Earth, despite its own rebuilding efforts, sent teachers, doctors, and engineers to help other species recover from centuries of exploitation. Frank Garcia, the former resistance leader, now headed Earth's outreach program. We know what it's like to be looked down upon, he told a group departing for a newly liberated world. Let's show the galaxy a better way forward. In the decades that followed, humanity continued to surprise its galactic neighbors. Earth ships ventured farther into space than any Council vessel had ever gone. Human innovations in quantum technology revolutionized interstellar travel and communication. And Earth's fierce defense of freedom inspired rebellions on dozens of oppressed worlds. The Galactic Council had sought to contain humanity, fearing its potential for violence and unpredictability. In doing so, they had inadvertently helped create exactly what they feared. A human civilization that would not be controlled, that would fight with unmatched determination when threatened, and that would change the galaxy forever. Earth's fierce retaliation had indeed left the Galactic Council in disbelief, but from that disbelief came a new understanding and a better future for all sentient beings.